Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us at AI in Action. Oh, maybe we want to turn the lights down. We tried this a couple weeks ago, right, Bart? Where's Bart? He's over there. We tried this a couple weeks ago, and there was a big storm in Charlotte where there was hail and tornadoes and earthquakes and brimstone and whatnot. And there's power was out for 2 hours, so we had to cancel that and we had to redo it. And the title here is like, the latest developments in AI. And from 3 weeks ago to today, like everything has changed. And so we had to completely redo our presentation. We tried a little bit of this, but we don't want to give away all the new stuff. So we have stuff for next month. So we have this this new series. It's a monthly series, the first Thursday of every month. Today's the first Thursday. Unfortunately, next month, the first Thursday is July 4th. So we're going to do it the week after, just for July. But the whole point here is we want to show AI. We've had a whole lot of conversations and people pontificating about it, but we want to show AI in action. That's the name of the series. I've also heard people say, more show, less tell. And there was another one. Where's Ron? Ron, you had a good one. The Missouri series, the Show Me series. Yeah, Missouri is a Show Me state. So we want to show some stuff. And just to keep people interested, this presentation is going to be a little more entertainment than, my part's entertainment. Frank's is boring. Frank's part's boring.
Mine's nerdy.
Yours is nerdy. So we want to make this a little more entertaining, probably a little less businessy than we would normally do, just to kind of get some buzz and some excitement. So hopefully you walk away with a big smile on your face, and not so much like, let me show you document ingestion, which can be a little bit boring at times, even for us. So this is my colleague, Frank. We're both partners here at Kingsmen. Frank Wanaka is our CTO, partner, chief nerd.
Definitely.
Yeah, so you can't see it, but he's got a snarky t-shirt on, because he always has a snarky t-shirt on. Something about, it works on my machine, or JavaScript feeds on your tiers or something like that. But so Frank will do all the techie stuff, and I'll do all the non-techie stuff, because that's all I can do. Anyway, what did I miss?
That
Good?
covers it.
Okay,
Let's
all right.
roll.
So let's roll. Here's where we're going to go through a little bit of agenda. Each one of these that we're going to walk through, like for example, Udio, with creating a song using AI. We're going to put a little QR code in the bottom. So if you want to go grab that while we're doing it, you can. We'll also have all the QR codes at the end if you don't want to bring out your phone every slide that comes up. But the idea is we want to share how we did some of these things so you can go do it at home and you can go create a song about your dog for your family. But we have for all of these, there's even a bonus. Frank's going to be doing a fashion show for us. He just doesn't know it yet. So in addition to having all the QR codes at the end, during and at the end, we're also going to I'm going to stick around afterwards. And if you guys want to actually come play around in the tequila room here, we can do that too, if you want to see how this stuff works for realsies. All right. Did I miss anything? We good?
That's good.
All right. So as we started off this session, the presentation, and we were trying to figure out how we can introduce this new talking series, we thought, let's go create a song where we can use Udio. It's audio without the A. It's like the A fell off somewhere. But you can just type in a prompt, and as you type in that prompt, it'll create the lyrics, and it'll create a song in the format that you want. And I was kind of expecting like an 8-bit kind of a Mario Kart kind of a song. But I was really impressed by what it created. So my prompt was something along the lines of, Kevin and Frank are doing a speaking series on AI and showing you how you use it. And I want it to be a little bit folksy, so I said like the Beverly Hillbillies, that TV show from the 60s where Jed Clampett is going off, they found oil and they're going off to Beverly Hills. It's kind of like a folksy, kind of a narrative type song, and a little bit of country and banjo-y. And so I just put in a one-sentence prompt that said, Frank, Kevin, AI, Beverly Hillbillies, and I got this.
laying it plain, making complex things simple, no need to strain. Hey there, tech fans, come gather round. We're unpacking secrets where insight is found.
It's like a hoedown, right? Now, clearly you can see the words here, the lyrics, right? And you've probably seen those lyrics, like lyrics like that before, where you can ask a model to give me a poem within a certain style, like a pirate or something like that, and the lyrics are not that big of a deal. What really impressed me was the song and the music. We've got the style, right? This is very kind of country, hillbillies type thing, so the sound is perfect. But if I'm going to play it again, if you listen to things closely, you're going to hear a couple things. First, you're going to hear dueling banjos. Not one banjo, dueling banjos. And then you're going to hear, like in this making complex things simple here, you're going to hear some syncopation where you're off the beat. And then towards the end, you get some harmony. So in the last two lines here is harmony. That's pretty rich from a song that took me like 30 seconds to go create. The pictures were just from Mid-Journey, so that's no big deal.
Now listen here, folks, to my jingle rhyme band. Kevin and Frank with AI in
Hear the
hand,
dueling banjos?
serving up knowledge, laying it plain, making complex things simple, no need to strain. Hey there,
Harmony?
tech fans, come gather round. We're unpacking secrets where insight is found.
There's also a 4-bar intro, and it started going into a bridge. I mean, that's a pretty complicated song for a 30-second prompt. So, pretty impressive, a lot of fun. Maybe not so much business purposes, although maybe for the beginning of our podcast we could use that, maybe something like that. But anyway, that's UDO. Okay, the next one is this Microsoft research called VASA 1. It's not been released yet. And I'll explain why in just we think why in just a second. But the idea here is that you can take an image. Now, we've done lots of like avatar training, and we would take a video of someone, like 2 or 10 or 30-minute long video of someone talking, and you'd take that video and you would train a model. Here they're taking a single image, and just to poke you in the eye, all these are fake images, right? They're all AI-generated images, they're not real people. So you start off with a fake image. You grab an audio clip. Now, we've all used 11 Labs to create audio clips, so you train a model with a voice, and you give it some text. So you have your script, and then you can actually use controls to change the way someone's face is looking up, looking down, no facial expression at all, or just facial expressions and no talking. So let me just show you this. I'm going to jump over to there. That's our UDO. These are some other songs that were created in UDO. Where's the mouse? Yeah. This one's about Elmo. We could listen to some of the other ones. They're pretty good, but we probably don't have time for that. So let's go into VASA. So this is that picture from VASA. And let's just use this one as a simple example.
So, sometimes nothing happens, and sometimes everything happens all at once, and you just gotta deal with it. And it's also just strange to both be extremely worried about different things and have your anxiety levels like peak to the highest they've ever been, and then also be extremely happy and grateful that you were able to buy an apartment. It's all these conflicting.
Very natural movements, right? There's some head nodding, there's some turning, there's some raising the eyebrows. It seems like a real person, all right? So there's tons of examples of this. I want to show you this one here. In this example, this person, again, one image with a text file that turned into audio. This person is moving and talking. This person is moving and not talking. This person is talking but not moving, and this person is doing everything. It's crazy.
Let's say you don't want to see this person again. I still think that you should follow up with them. Just ghosting somebody after you guys had a good time together is not the nicest thing to do. You want to text that person and let her know that you're still thinking about her, even if...
Right? Isn't that weird? All right, so let's see another one up here. Here we have 3 different images, same voice track, same motions.
Will prevent those cavities from getting worse and prevent new cavities. Just because you treat cavities, it doesn't mean they can't get cavities in any other tooth or around those other cavities. Why did the cavities happen in the first place?
You get the point, right? Like, if you think about your interactions with a chatbot, if you could have an interaction with an individual that's talking back to you with those sort of facial expressions, now you're not quite sure if you're talking to a person. This goes back to what I alluded to earlier. They've not released this yet. My personal speculation, only Kevin's personal speculation, is there's an election coming up, and if someone could have access to this and start creating some deep fakes that look really, really real, and none of us realize that these are fake because that technology has not been assimilated into society yet, this could get really dangerous. And I want to show this piece down here, this little demo. We have to go through the whole thing, but I want to see how this actually works. So you upload an image. Now there's another image.
But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus all my attention, all my time on listening. So instead of doing something else,
now they changed the image.
Listened, and listened. Because I'm a true believer that if you're really bad at something,
enter
like
new text
listening, for
based
example,
on that.
it only shows you that
based on that voice.
You
now
have
you
to
text
practice
to
listening
speech
as much as you can.
We introduce VASA, a framework for generating lifelike talking
in
faces
real time.
with appealing visual effective skills.
Not like, oh, we have to
giving
go
a
render it
single
and generate
static
it,
image
and it'll come back in
speech
30
audio.
seconds. It's in real
Our
time.
model is capable of not only
Now you're moving it
producing
around
lip
based on your
movements that are
mouse.
exquisitely synchronized with the audio, but also capturing a large
Zoom in,
spectrum
zoom
of
out,
facial
roll,
nuances
pitch, yaw.
and natural head motions that contribute to the perception of authenticity
Pretty spooky,
and
right?
liveliness. The core
So
innovations
think about
include a
talking to
holistic
someone
facial
at your
dynamics and head
airline, at your
movement
bank or whatnot for customer service, and now you're getting a Zoom call and you're talking to someone, and you're interacting, and they are giving you empathy and looking you in the eyes. All of a sudden, that's going to get a whole lot better. Really, really spooky. But coming soon to a theater near you. All right. Is that the fun stuff over? No, it's not. It's not.
Not quite.
So, oh, there's one little more fun stuff. So they took Mona Lisa, and so they had a video up here a couple weeks ago that was a little bit risque. Oh,
It was edgy.
I'm just glad Juan's son left. So it was an edgy type video, and they replaced it with something less edgy, but we saved the edgy video so you can see the edgy video. So take Mona Lisa and have her be a rap star.
Yo, I'm a paparazzi.
Let's start that over again. Now we got some volume.
Yo, I'm a paparazzi. I don't play no Yahtzee. I go pop, 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 pop. My camera's up your crotch. See, I tell the truth from what I see and sell it to Perez Hilty. Don't call me scuzzy, making money. That's my job, celeb photography. What? Hell no, I'm not needy. I'm legit, not stockerazzi. Don't act so hotsy-totsy, bitch. I know that you from Jersey.
Yeah, all right, so that's Microsoft. It wasn't us. That said, we've been played this video about 100 times, so we hear it in our sleep. Anyway, okay. So now that we're done with all the fun stuff, Frank can do all the boring stuff.
Great.
With that great intro.
Thank you very much.
Now,
Don't go too far. You're going to have to pull up some videos.
Do it like Mona Lisa does it.
Yeah, like Mona Lisa. Great.
Yeah.
I'll get the nerdy stuff out of the way, and then we can get back to some more fun stuff. So over the past year and a half, we've done dozens of projects that are built on top of LLMs. Some of them for clients, some internal tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, some for showcases if you were here at the expo last year, and a lot of POCs just learning the technology. And all through last year, the decision of which LLM to use if we were building something was pretty simple. We're going to use an OpenAI model. It was pretty cut and dried. Although there were competitors, they just weren't quite up to the quality level. And the tools that OpenAI added to make development easier, like function calling and JSON return values, just made it a clear choice. That finally changed this year. It started in February with Gemini 1.5 Pro being released. they initially released Gemini 1.0 late last year, and it still wasn't quite up to OpenAI's quality level. So, but in February 15th, 1.5 Pro was a preview version of that came out. And it had some really interesting features. First ever native audio speech understanding capability, the ability to ingest video and reason across both image frames and audio. Developer functions, which 1.0 did not have. So system instructions, function calling in JSON mode. And the first ever mid-size multi-size modal model. And this again is not their full model, Ultra, so there'll be a larger version of this coming at some point with even more capabilities. But even for a mid-size model, it's got amazing capabilities, and we'll get into that a little deeper later on. One of its big features was a context window size of 1 million tokens. So, you know, early last year, we were dealing with 4K and 8K context window sizes, which, you know, you really had to engineer to get the data in there in the proper way, and things like RAG became popular to kind of narrow down the amount of data that you could put in there. This opens up a huge amount of possibilities. Some of those are that you can upload an hour of video and query it directly, 11 hours of audio, 30,000 lines of code, which would be like a whole code base, or 700,000 words, which is, you know, to just a little comparison, it's, you know, far greater than the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy or War and Peace, which, you know, when I was growing up, that was the go-to if you wanted to compare the size of something. You compared it to War and Peace. So, and then more recently, this is a little addendum since this got postponed. A couple weeks ago, it came out of preview. It's fully released now, and they're going to extend the context window size to 2 million tokens. So it just means you can do a massive amount of data mining, data analysis in one shot. They also announced a smaller version, Gemini 1.5 Flash, which is smaller, faster, and cheaper, not quite as capable, but it's actually comparing very well to some of the larger models. And they also announced Nano, which will be running natively on Pixel phones coming out later this year. So that's really the next thing as they get these model sizes down, is running natively on your computer or on a phone. So then in March, Anthropic released Claude 3. So they made a lot of progress last year with Claude 1 and 2, but Claude 3 was a huge leap forward for them. They've had 3 different sizes, Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus, from smallest to largest. It had the same 200,000 token context window size as Claude 2.1 did, which again is the size of a novel. So it's still a lot of data you can put in one shot. And the big thing was it outperformed every other model on almost every benchmark. And we'll get into that slide in a minute and talk a little bit more about benchmarks. It also had sophisticated vision capabilities. So GPT-4 had vision out at that point, but it was on par with that. And if you're interested in trying it out, Claude 3 Sonnet's free to use. You just sign up with an account on Anthropic. If you wanted to try Opus or Haiku, it's $20 a month, sort of similar to how ChatGPT has a paid plan. And it was far superior to Claude 2 and 2.1. Faster and with more knowledge. And we're not going to go through all the numbers. This is color-coded for different models on a series of different benchmarks that are out there on different types of data. So there's undergraduate level knowledge, some graduate level reasoning, math, coding, and then some other ones sort of have, you know, similar topics. At the time, you know, before Claude 3 came out, GPT-4, or Gippity as I like to call it, was first in almost all those. And the color coding here is dark green is first place, medium is second, light green's third. So when Claude 3 Opus came out, it took the lead in every benchmark other than coding. And it was competitive on the coding side. So this is sort of an objective measure. Some of these benchmarks are flawed, and you may read about that, but they're at least directionally correct. And subjectively, everybody kind of agreed, hey, Claude 3 Opus is the new leader. Then in April, GPT-4 Turbo came out. It was for the final release. There had been some preview versions, but for us, as developers, this one was really interesting because it combined the vision preview with the other developer features such as JSON mode and function calling all in one model. In addition, its benchmark scores went way up in reasoning and math, and up a certain percentage point in the other ones. So at that point in April, it shifted a little bit. It was kind of a tie, depending on the category, between Claude 3 Opus and GPT-4 Turbo. And I do have Gemini 1.5 Pro up there. It kind of trailed a bit in the benchmarks, although for certain use cases with the million context window, there's certain applications where it would be the front runner. And then after we'd completely finished the deck for the presentation a couple weeks ago, GPT-4o, O for Omni, came out. So it is fully multimodal, like Gemini 1.5 is. It can accept any combination of text, audio, image, and video, and it will generate any combination of text, audio, and image. And there's some incredible demos out there. Again, with the QR code, you can go to OpenAI's site. It's amazing. The speed is much faster than previous versions. One of the big things is the ability to do a voice chat, which will be coming out within the next few weeks. The response time is down to a few hundred milliseconds. Now, previously, we'd played around with trying to create like an interactive voice chatbot. The problem was the delay to convert speech to text, to feed that into an LLM, and then convert that back out to text to speech. So there was a 3 to 6 second delay if you ask it a question before you get an answer, and it's just not conversational. Nobody's gonna really use that. So this changes that completely, and we'll see a demo on that in a little bit. It matches GPT-4 Turbo performance on text, in English, and in code, with significant improvements in non-English languages as well. The knowledge base cutoff is December 2023. It still has the smallest context window size of the different models at 128K, but that's still a lot. You can get a lot done with that. So we'll take a quick look at the voice demo just to kind of give you an idea. Come on, mouse. It's not there. It's just, where's it at? You're looking sideways, that's why. No, next one over. Yeah, I can get them out of order. From there or beginning? There's fine.
Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather round, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always exploring.
I started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Got it. Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness.
Do you notice they're
much more
interrupting
than you
the
were doing
model?
before.
It's working.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte
Actually, can
was
you do this in a robotic voice now?
initiating dramatic robotic voice. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always exploring new circuits.
Barrett here, calm down a little bit. Can you end the story, but do it in a singing voice?
And so Byte found another robot friend, and they lived circuitly ever after.
So you kind of get the idea. Three different things there really make that engaging. The speed, the ability to interrupt, which if you've used the current voice and then like your mobile chat GPT, you can't interrupt it. It needs to go ahead and finish. And then the emoting ability. It can vary the emotions throughout, so it ends up being a much more real experience with a chat. So if you've seen the movie Her, you probably know that just an audio interaction can be pretty powerful, even if we don't have the visual avatar, which I also think is coming soon, as Kevin showed. So.
What struck me as odd with that video, or not maybe odd, maybe ironic, is you have an AI computer talking like a robot. Like the idea now of a robot and how it talks is going to be like a human, not like a robot. So it's like an archaic robot, I guess, right? Like what would we think a robot might sound like? It's very bizarre. There was also on that using vision. You're not going to show the vision one, are you? In the demo?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there's another demo. If you go to the QR code, there's another demo where they use the phone. He draws out a linear equation on a sheet of paper, just using a Sharpie, and points the phone at the linear equation, I don't know, like 3x plus 1 equals 4 or something like that, and says, don't tell me the answer, but could you help me solve it? And just by looking at the page and how he's doing the math problem, it helps solve the equation just using his phone. It's scary.
So now this is what this chart looks like. So now GPT-4, different versions have 6 out of the 8 first places. And you can see the third one down. I have not been able to find benchmark scores for those, so it's probably competitive in that as well. So what this all means is at this point, anytime we have a new application we're going to look at building, we need to really understand what the requirements are before we pick a model. It's not just cut and dried, even though in certain cases here, GPT-4 looks like it's in the lead. Claude has some advantages. Gemini 1.5 Pro definitely have some advantages, and we'll get into those in just a little bit. I'll touch on one final thing from sort of statistics perspective and a comparison. There is a website called the Chatbot Arena, where you can go and enter a prompt, and it will feed that into 2 different LLMs blindly. You're not going to know what they are, and it's going to return the responses for each, and then you can rank them and say which one you prefer. They've got, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe 100 different LLMs on there now. And then based on who gives a thumbs up to the one, they create an ELO score, something similar to like a chess ELO score, to rank which one's best. Right now, GPT-4o is in first, Gemini 1.5 in second, and a couple of different Gemini models there as well, with Claude down a little bit, so it's kind of lost its first place. But they're all pretty comparable, and they each have pros and cons. I do want to touch one final thing that we've done some internal testing on. This is more around pure text. We've got some applications we've built that we've come back to recently, and we wanted to compare the different LLMs. They were originally built on OpenAI models, but we wanted to see which would do best. So the first one is ingesting a 60-page debt prospectus and extracting all of the companies involved and their roles in the prospectus. So this is like multiple needle in a haystack test. So it needs to go find specific information from all throughout the document and pull those back. The results were kind of surprising. Gemini 1.5 Pro gave an A+ to it because it would nail every single one every time and format it nicely. The Claude 3 models did a good job. There's some times they wouldn't pull out like the law firms, but when prompted, they would go find them. And GPT-4 Turbo did the worst. It would not find the law firms. Even when asked, hey, go find the law firms, it couldn't. But if you gave it the law firm name, it would say, oh yeah, here's what that is. It would finally go find it then. So in this case, we were pretty surprised. So for sort of data extraction out of a big document, needle in a haystack, Gemini 1.5 Pro now, for us at least in our testing, is in the lead. The second is in content generation. We've got a tool we use internally to generate blog articles. We built it originally on OpenAI. One of the struggles we had was, say, having it give you the number of words you asked for. So you'd ask for 2,000 words, and it wouldn't give you anywhere close to that. You'd have to reprompt and reprompt, and you can see that here. The initial one is write a long essay of at least 1,500 words about the future of robotics. None of them got to that level. You can see that they're all fell short of it. The next line down was a reprompt saying, hey, that wasn't long enough. Please make it X% longer to get to 1,500 words. And in that case, all the Claude models got very close to the 1,500 word target, with Opus on the first attempt nailing exactly 1,500. Now, in further testing, it never hit that exact number again, but it was always within the 1,400 to 1,600 word range. And you can see GPT-4 Turbo only got up to 875, even with additional prompts. Gemini 1.5 Pro actually went backwards and ended up with less words and nowhere close to the 1,500 mark. And the final was I wanted to really push the length of the context window on output, asking for 2,500 words, sort of creative story about a boy's adventure. Again, GPT-4 Turbo, Gemini 1.5 Pro, well under that mark, whereas the Claude models were all, a lot closer right out of the gate. And the quality of the story writing was much better. I'd say for creative writing right now, Claude 3 is the best. Now, there'll be new stuff coming soon, I'm sure that'll change, but as of right now, that's how we would rank them. So I want to dive into Gemini 1.5 Pro's multimodal capabilities, because when 1.0 came out late last year, Google released a video that was just absolutely amazing, showing real-time interaction with a person in Gemini, what looked like ingesting video and having the person draw on a piece of paper and interpret it. It turns out a lot of that was faked. So when they announced some of the 1.5 stuff, I was a little skeptical, so I wanted to try it out. They said you could upload an hour of video and go in and query it, and it could pull information out of that from either the video portion or the audio. So I wanted to try that out. The first thing I used to test it is a short video. It's 5 minutes and 41 seconds long. It's something our team here created for the expo we held last year. It's all AI generated. It's called Atomic Onslaught. We'll just jump in real quick and take a quick peek at it. Yep. So I asked it a series of questions. The answers would come variously from either video, just the audio, or a combination of both. And it got virtually everything right, including the spelling of people's names. It was very impressive. The only task that it failed at was on identifying how many languages a certain character in the show spoke. We had cloned our beloved Kevin Carney, made a digital avatar out of him, and taught him to speak German, Spanish, and English. It failed to identify those different languages, as we'll see. I'll have some screenshots of the chat here shortly. So just give you a little bit of flavor of
Lamento informar a las personas que nuestro intrépido líder, Galactic Chair Clary C., falleció en el ataque de Electroleech. Als der 47. galaktische Vorsitzende werde ich als erstes eine Anti-Schnecken-Einsatztruppe zusammenstellen, die über die erforderlichen Fähigkeiten verfügt, um gegen die Elektroschnecken anzutreten. With their wits, grits, and large amounts of salt, they will be able to save us from the darkness.
We have to actually watch the Watt Warriors for a second, because David Phillips is in the audience.
Yes.
There's Juan.
And we touch on that.
There he is. He's reading the owner's manual of this fighter jet, apparently. Anyway, you get the idea here, right? All right, you go back to PowerPoint?
Yeah. All right, so I uploaded that video and then started asking some questions. The first, find the name of the Galactic Chair, William J. Clarice, the 24th. So nailed all the spelling, which was really impressive. Who is his multilingual secretary? Kevin Asaf Carney.
As-AF.
As-AF Carney, yes, that's how you pronounce it. What was Earth fighting against? Electroleeches. Who were the fighter pilots? This is where it was pretty interesting. It got all the names right. And these were, as you saw in the video, in separate frames of the video. During that period in the video, there's just background music. They're never called out as actually being fighter pilots. It just identified them based on the images in the background that they must be in space in some sort of spaceship. Because I followed up questions later on with like, who are the tank commanders, thinking, what looks pretty similar. And it said there weren't any. And I said, well, how do you know these are fighter pilots? And it said, it looks like they're in a cockpit and you can see space in the background. So the context from that was pretty interesting, especially as they're split across different frames in the video with the names and never really identified as fighter pilots. What kind of music is played in the video? I'm unable to identify the specific genre of music in the video, but it has an epic and cinematic quality, often used in science fiction or action movie trailers. And then I followed up a couple other things. What do the electric leeches look like? They're depicted as large serpentine creatures with glowing yellow veins and menacing teeth. They appear to have a dark green or black exterior. And then I went to summarize the plot, which gave me a good paragraph that covered pretty much everything. It didn't mention that Kevin had passed away, so I followed up with a question on that, and it did say that tragically he did succumb to his injuries during the Great Battle. At the very end of the video, Dan Roselli gives a long speech about his vision of the future. It did a great job of summarizing the emotion of that without quoting him verbatim. And this is where it did fail. I asked, how many languages does Kevin speak? And it says that it doesn't specify the exact number of languages. And I asked, does he speak different languages in the video? And it said he only speaks English. So I think that was
a true statement. I only speak English.
That's true. I think what may have thrown it off was that there were English subtitles throughout. So maybe it is keying off the video instead of the audio. So that's something for us to circle back to at some point and test. So based on that, I was very impressed. I wanted to try it with a different type of content and something much longer because they advertised the huge context window. So we had just hosted an event for the Charlotte IT professionals here, and we recorded that with 2 different cameras. Part of the video is like a split screen with the 2 different images, and then some of it's just one of the cameras. It's 47 minutes and 30 seconds long. It consumed 840,000 of the 1 million token context window, so used up a good chunk of it. And I asked it another series of questions. There are some things that got wrong, and I'm just going to cover those here before we get into the Q&A I did. One was related to the audio, so it will get thrown off if somebody is saying a lot of uhs and ums. For example, during the video, the speaker stated there's a disc golf tournament coming up, and it translated that into a disco golf tournament, so D-I-S-K-A. So it picked that up wrong. There's also a winning raffle number quoted in the video. It added an extra 5 in the middle there, so it misidentified that. And then it was really struggled on counting the number of people in the audience. So we had one of the cameras pointing at the audience. For some reason, it really struggled with that, even with a lot of questions back and forth. So that was something that seemed simpler than some of the other things I asked it, but it did struggle with that. So we'll just jump into this. Even the very first question was kind of tricky. I asked, what are the upcoming events? The first gentleman that came out and spoke, Brett McWhorter, listed off 3 events. Kevin came out a few minutes later and mentioned the AI Innovation Council was coming up. So it was able to extract all of those mentions of events and then put them in the proper date order, even though the one Kevin mentioned last is first on the calendar. So pretty impressive there, other than the disco golf tournament. Then I asked, what's the time code for when the AI Innovation Council was mentioned? And it nailed it at exactly 2 minutes and 56 seconds. I followed up with another mention, and it nailed the time code on that as well. Again, I asked what was the winning ticket for the raffle and what was the prize. They were mentioned at different points in the video. Again, it got an extra 5 in the raffle number. Other than that, it was correct. And it did pick out that the prize was a Bushnell rangefinder. This video, this screenshot from the video, I'll just kind of explain it first before I explain what the question was. Brett McWhorter, you can see in the background there, the gentleman on the right side had been speaking in the microphone right at the very end of the video, and you can just barely hear Brett in the background say, "Thanks everybody for coming." The question I asked was, who was the last person to speak? And it nailed it. Last person to speak was Brett McWhorter. It's interesting because Brett introduced himself in the first 10 seconds of the video, but it was able to match up who he was with the last few frames and who spoke last, which I thought was very impressive. I then asked, what do they provide opportunities to do? You can see a bulleted list there of items. That was never mentioned in the audio, and there was never a slide of that. But you can see in this still that on the right side, there's a banner in the background listing out the different things that the Charlotte IT professionals provide opportunities to do. It extracted all the text off of that and nailed it exactly with no prompting of where to go find that.
But it also reworded it, right? It paraphrased it. If you
It
go back
did.
to the screen.
It did. It was not verbatim.
These say, Charlotte IT professionals meet, learn, share, and give to turn that into growth and impact. So the first 4 are verbs and the last 2 are nouns, but it converted all those into verbs. Meet, learn, share, give, grow, not growth, grow, and impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I asked for a summary. It gave me a short summary, which was accurate, but I wanted something more comprehensive. So I asked for that, and it did a very nicely formatted breakout of everything in it. So it listed the location specifically, the sponsors, who the key speaker was, his title and where he works, main topics, with sort of a bulleted list with a main point and then an explanation, additional notes about the raffle and upcoming events. It was really impressive for it to filter through the entire video, extract all that information, and summarize it that way. Each of these prompts took somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds to return, so it took some time, but given the size of the data that it was going through, I thought it was pretty impressive, the speed with which it returned. This is where it kind of fell over. You can see there's a split screen here at the beginning of the video where we can see the audience, and you can see there's 14 people in the audience, there's 5 people on the first row, and this is where it kind of fell over. It couldn't provide a number of people. It estimated as 15 to 20, and it stated there were 6 people seated in the bottom row. Even with some prompting about giving the exact time code, it still kept saying there were 6 people. And so finally, we ended up with, I was able to prompt it at the very end and ask it about, go back and look and check the raffle number. I said, please confirm what the raffle number was, and it was able to go back and find the right one. Interestingly, it kept apologizing. So even when I would just say confirm it, it would say, oh, I'm sorry, yes, you were right, even though I didn't say you're wrong. So I get the feeling like anytime you ask it to confirm, it's going to try to go find a problem, which we need to do further testing in that. But amazing capabilities.
Don't piss our AI overlords.
That's right. All right. That's it for the LLM stuff. Thanks for listening to the nerdy stuff. I'll let Kevin get back to some fun, interesting things.
Cool. All right. Good stuff. Thanks. All right, so OpenAI came out with Sora. We talked about text to video. This is a separate model, and it's not released yet. But we've had some scenarios where you can use like runway ML to take an image and turn it into a 4-second video. And that's some of the things we did in our electro leeches. We took a picture and added 4 seconds of video to kind of make the cityscapes kind of moving and the camera panning, or like looks like cars are moving, things along those lines. Fires are burning, smoldering. But OpenAI came out with Sora, what, 2-3 months ago?
Yes.
And you don't even need a prompt, an image to start off. You just give it a text prompt. And I'm going to show them in just a second, but I'll explain this one here. This is a woman walking on a street in Hong Kong. It's a minute-long video of her walking with one prompt. Woolly mammoths, we know there was not a video of that. Like, the woman in Tokyo looks like a video. You're like, oh, no, they filmed it. Well, clearly they didn't film woolly mammoths walking in the snow because it's summertime, right? They had to be in the wintertime. And then this one, I'll show you this video. It's a woman on a subway, and they're in Tokyo going across the houses, and it asks for reflections. And in the video, it shows looking out of a train, and because you're looking at the window, you can see this woman very, very faintly in the reflection on the window. And then when the train moves in front of a building or a pillar or something like that, she shows up, and then she goes away again into the background. It's absolutely stunning. So let me just show you these. Sorry, David, we're going to move on from you. Okay, so let's go down here. Okay, so a stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signage. She wears a black leather jacket, a long red dress, and black boots, and carries a black purse. She wears sunglasses and red lipstick. She walks confidently and casually. The street is damp and reflective. I mean, she's looking around. There's people behind her. The signs are detailed, but not detailed enough to actually probably say anything. But it's so impressive, right? It looks like a video. Like, what I mean by that is like someone shot that video. It's spooky. And then if we go look at our woolly mammoths, you're like, that's probably what they look like. With the snow in the background, like, you know, drifting up there. There's some extra weeds or grass poking up. The mountains and the pine trees. Amazing. All right, this, if you're keen in your eyesight, this was the background that I used in our song, right? As in like a western town. Now, let me start this one over, if I can. Or can't. I don't know why it's not letting me. But look at this horse. Some of these horses that go by, like, look a little strange. This horse has no back. It's just the front. Right? Like, if you look at it really in close detail, I don't know what that is.
It's not perfect.
It's what?
It's not perfect yet.
It's not perfect, okay? But this kind of looks like what a gold rush town would look like in the Old West, right? And look at the prompt, historical footage of California during the gold rush. Like, sure, they would go around wherever the stream is, right? That's where you're panning for gold. Like, it's really, really impressive in these clapboard houses. And then this is the one on the train. You can see the image in the background, and then it just went right by with a pillar, and you could see her. This is a loop. It's really impressive. I don't know how it does it. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, so there's lots of other ones you can see here too, but again, QR codes are on there, so you can take a look at the QR codes.
Yep. And that's not available yet for us to use, but they have paired up with a lot of creative people, filmmakers that they've given access to, and they've been creating shorts, putting them out on Twitter, or X, if you want to call it that now.
And I think Adobe is now incorporating it, right?
Yeah, Adobe has already shown previews of Adobe Premiere with this as one of the things you can generate video with or extend a video with. If you've already got some footage, you can say, hey, start with this and now make it longer. So that's coming at some point too.
Okay, here's the next one. This is Google. So this is Gemini Pro. It's just a video demo, but I've often talked about how we're using AI to automate the stuff that we're currently doing, right? So we do document ingestion, and we have someone that's actually some data steward that's looking at the data and pulling the data out, or using OCR, and AI might improve the productivity on that. But it's kind of doing the same thing that we do today. From a coding standpoint, we're using code pilots to help us code better. And so we're going to build a screen. Someone might go draw the screen. That might actually create the HTML for that screen. You might actually use Copilot to go create some of the services for that. But ultimately, we're just automating what we currently do, right? We write code. Now the question is, if you could develop requirements and you could write code and you could build a UI and you can test that UI and you can present the UI, why not do it at runtime? Because ultimately, when we code and then we test and we deploy, that UI sits out there for months at a time until we do something else. But imagine you're able to do those dynamically. All of a sudden, this changes how software might be built in the very near future. So let's watch this video. It kind of speaks for itself. But I do want to note that if you look at some of the, this is a debugger. See the debug mode here? So that you can see what the model is doing in the background. You wouldn't show that to a user, but because this is a developer explaining it, he does that for you. So a custom UI.
Demo of Gemini's multimodal reasoning capabilities to understand and reason about users' intent, use tools, and generate bespoke user experiences that go beyond chat interfaces. Let's say I'm looking for inspirations for a birthday party theme for my daughter. Gemini says, I can help you with that. Could you tell me what she's interested in? So I say, sure, she loves animals, and we're thinking about doing something outdoors. At this point, instead of responding in text, Gemini goes and creates a bespoke interface to help me explore ideas. It's got lots of ideas, it's visually rich, it's interactable. Now, none of this was coded up. It was all generated by Gemini. Gemini uses a series of reasoning steps, going from broad decisions to increasingly high resolution of reasoning, finally getting to code and data. First, Gemini considers, does it even need an UI? Is a text prompt best? Okay, this is a complex request that needs lots of information to be presented in an organized way. Gemini then tries to understand if it knows enough to help. There is a lot of ambiguity. I didn't say what my daughter's interests are or what kind of a party I wanted, so it had asked a clarifying question. When I said, we're thinking about an outdoor party and my daughter loves animals, Gemini reasoned it had enough information to proceed. But it made a note that there was still ambiguity about what kind of animals, and this is important, and what kind of outdoor party. Next is a critical step. Gemini writes the product requirement document, or PRD.
It writes
it contains
the PRD
the plan for the
in the
kinds
background.
of functionality the experience will have. For instance, it should show different possible party themes, some activities, and food options for them. Now, based on this PRD, Gemini tries to design the best experience for the user's journey. It thinks that the user will like to explore a list of options, but will also want to delve into details. It uses this to design a list and detailed layout that we saw earlier. With this design, it writes the Flutter code to compose the interface out of widgets and write any functionality needed. Finally, it generates and retrieves the data needed to render the experience. You can see it filling in content and images for the different sections. Ah, farm animals. She would like that. Clicking on the interface regenerates the data to be rendered by the code it wrote. Ooh, I know she likes cupcakes. I can now click on anything in the interface and ask it for more information. I could say, step-by-step instructions on how to bake this. And it starts to generate a new UI. This time, it designs an UI best suited for giving me step-by-step instructions. I want to find some suitable cake toppers for this. Show me some farm animal cake toppers. At this point, Gemini again decides to create a visually rich experience. It generates a gallery of images. Notice the drop-downs at the top. It decided that maybe it should help me explore by showing different options. Sheep sounds interesting. I know she likes that. And now it helps me pick sheep cake toppers. These look great. This is going to be a fun birthday party. I hope you saw a glimpse of what Gemini is capable of. I'm really excited about what's possible here. This is such an interesting time in AI, and I'm excited to be part of this.
So those are 3 different UIs that we saw. I really hope the power doesn't go out again. Bart, if the power goes out again, you're not invited back. But the way that it was able to create the PRD based on the information that it had and the information that it needed, and create a pretty good PRD that turned into a layout selection of which UI would be best, and then populate that UI, and then you're allowed to interact with that UI, all on the fly. That's just mind-blowing to me as someone that's built software for 30 years. Because it changes it completely changes the paradigm as to what a front end would look like. Maybe not the back end, but how the front end would look. A product requirements document. That was a plant in the audience, wasn't it? Thanks, Ken. All right, so that's the QR code there, and we are winding up, so no worries here. Last, this is our final thing. We want to give a little bit of a send-off. Frank did a fashion show. You got to crank the music on this one, Jacob. We were talking with a company that I guess I can mention fashionably, Ashlyn Greer. Thank you, Ashlyn Greer, and her company Fashionably has stylists that will actually take what you like to wear and turn that into outfits and looks, as she calls it, so you can go purchase those. As we were talking with her and having conversations, we're like, well, maybe you can try stuff on. It's a little bit cutesy. That's not her business model, but it kind of inspired us. So we found some models that allow you to try on clothes. Now, this is just shirts, but you can actually try on dresses and all sorts of good stuff. But I only had the torso of Frank, so without further ado, this is how we're ending the finale.
I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me.
Frank will be modeling clothes for us today. Notice he's wearing a shirt, right? He has long sleeves on. This is Mark Griswold's hockey jersey from Christmas Vacation.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Now he has arms, like his bare arms.
Sexy, it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan. Too sexy
Father
for
Frank.
Milan, New York and Japan.
Everyone needs a calf sweater. Looks comfy. I like it.
I'm too sexy for your party.
Not sure about that one.
Too sexy for your party. The way I'm disco dancing.
I think you're wearing a skirt there or something.
You know what I mean?
And then we had to go as bizarre as we could.
On the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk. On the catwalk.
That's bearded Jesus in a baby Bjorn. And that's all we got for you today. So, again, the first Thursday of every month except next month. Great timing. Thanks, Independence Day. This is a survey we'd love for you to take out, take. We just want to make sure that we're talking about things you want to hear about, right? So it's a simple 5 checkbox. Like, do you want to see more business cases? Do you want to see more about the models and how you can use each one? Do you want to see more entertainment? Like, tell us give us some feedback so we can make these a little bit better for each time. And it is optional. Name is optional. So if you don't want to disclose who you are and you're like, I want to see more like Frank in Baby Bjorn fashion, right? But anyway, so that's that. And then here are all the other QR codes. I'll pause for a second. Udio is the creating the songs. Vasa is the Mona Lisa one there. Gemini 1.5, Claude 3. These are self-explanatory. Turbo and 4o, not 4.0, 4o. And then the last slide, we've got the Chatbot Arena leaderboard, 4o Voice, Sora, which is the videos, think of the Tokyo videos. Gemini Bespoke UI, which is the animals, the farm animals, and then Cupid, which is what I used. And that's more of a rough, raw model that I used for Frank's fashion. And that's all we have. So grab a drink. I'll be around for another half an hour. If you want to try some stuff out in the tequila room, we can. Just let me make a Manhattan, and it'll be all set. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.